Hey everybody, I'm Tommy. You're on the boat. Chase the Heat is here. Sandy Wandy, what's happening? Mike Bragg, Kevin Hawthorne, Lakeland, Florida. Good to see you, my brother. I am glad that you are here. Hey, Sandy Wandy. So here's the deal. I love working in a good here's the deal. Caroline from Canada, I'm glad you're here. Here's the deal. We've talked about this one a lot, but this is going to be a little bit, well, we'll give it a second. Jamie Palmer, good to see you. Hey, how are you? I have cats everywhere. Everywhere I look, there are cats. Kristen Melinda, thank you for being here. Appreciate the ranch. Lisa Trimble, how are you? I'm glad you're here. Just Joan is in the boat. It is a boat. So I talked about this when I was covering Diddy in the past. Wes Lightburn, glad you're here. And this is there have been, I think, 3, maybe 4 documentaries that have been made about Diddy. Karen Pooley, good to see you. Hey, Kig, 56. Audra in Denver, welcome. There have been a bunch of documentaries made about Diddy, and his legal team has taken a shot at the people at NBC, and they've talked and threatened a lot of people who made documentaries. But the one that has scared the crap out of them the most, and they've been fairly obvious about that, hello, Toby, would be the 50 Cent documentary. And I would imagine that this scares Sean Combs for a lot of reasons. Hello, Cheryl. And the reason I think this scares Diddy the most is because Diddy was having a relationship with the mother of 50 Cent's kids. And allegedly, she was a sex worker that worked for Diddy, and he paid her rent, allegedly. Whether or not that's the truth or not, I guess we're going to find out. Cindy G, good to see you. I know that there was a relationship. That's pretty easy to figure out, whether or not he was paying her rent or whatever. But if you guys remember, back when I was doing this all of the time, there was a video where 50 Cent came out. That would be Curtis 50 Cent Jackson. His name's Curtis Jackson. I'm not sure if you knew that. But he came out and said, "Hey, you little sex worker," right? He was mocking his girl for working for Diddy. Brock Bandy, good to see you. And this is going to be a 4-part series. Now, we've been hearing about it forever, right? The case came and went, and this is interesting because everybody wanted to get to the market as fast as possible with the documentary on Diddy, and the reason was pretty obvious. This is a banging case from a view standpoint. There's never really been anything quite like it, other than maybe O.J. Simpson, right? And there's all kinds of precedents for weirdos that have had unusual cases, but the Diddy case caused a feeding frenzy. I was kind of a part of that feeding frenzy at one point. This is a subject I can't not cover, and I don't cover it every day. There is a couple of content creators out there that literally put up 4 Diddy videos a day. And I talked about this briefly yesterday. There's a real push to try to make as much money on this as possible. And I would say that that Harvey Levin and the boys over at TMZ are making a fortune talking about the Sean Combs stuff. Next to make a lot of money on this is going to be Netflix. And if you get an appreciation for just how litigious this entire situation is, there are lawsuits that are popping up all over the place from the Diddy camp, because he believes that he is being treated poorly by the press, and that it caused him to be where he's at, which is ironic if you think about it. But this is worth talking about just real briefly, because I keep telling people that there are things I'm not going to talk about, right? And if you're tracking on this, fantastic. If you're not, I understand. But I hope you're tracking on this. There are things I'm not going to talk about. And one of them is this, right? One of them is that if you piss off a judge, right? If you go out of your way to do something that pisses off a judge, you're going to pay for it. Catherine, good to see you. And what I mean by that is there are times when judges say things that inmates don't take to heart. And if you step on something that a judge says, they're not loving all of the information that is coming out in the Diddy case. They're not loving the fact that Diddy seems to be trying to orchestrate from prison a PR campaign to get him out faster. I talked about this yesterday. His son was on TMZ, and I'm sorry, but TMZ is just a Diddy cash factory. For the longest time, they looked like they were defending Diddy in everything they did. Then they got the leak about the booze that he consumed in prison, which he most assuredly consumed, got caught, lost 27 days of good time. I shouldn't say that. He could have got caught with it, and wasn't drinking it. They could have searched his cell, found a couple of bottles, because the write-up is the same whether you're drinking it, possessing it, or making it. And they're never going to release that. K Canadian, good to see you. Hi all, I was wondering if I could get a few good thoughts tonight. I found an hour ago there's a good chance I have the scary C. I just need a biopsy to confirm it. Can we get some thoughts and prayers, please? Hello, Sandy Bowers. But let me say this. The number of times that somebody needs a biopsy to confirm that something is the big C and finds out it isn't is incredible. So don't start hanging crepe just yet. Don't start writing this off as something that is a lock, because more often than not, it isn't. I was married to a woman for, how long was I married to my first wife? 13 years, something like that. Meesal Smokes, good to see you. The number of times that we thought she had cysts and had them often, and the number of times we thought that it was cancerous, or were praying that it was not, was a lot. Same, it's happened to Johnny Scoville. It has happened to me. I don't talk about certain parts of my medical past, but suffice to say that there has been a lot of scares in my life. Some were real, some were not. So I would pray about it, but I wouldn't start cashing my chips in and thinking that you got the big C. I think that I am going to go with the assumption that that is not the case, and that's how it's going to be. So Rune Subramanian was the judge that handled Diddy's case. Now Diddy has got other things coming out, and this is this 50 Cent documentary is very interesting. Hey man, so I've been watching this Jeremy McCord reels about prison. When you were in there, did you have to make a shank to keep yourself safe? He said it is a must. Well, let me say something. I don't know who this person is, and I don't, comment on other people's content. But what I will say is this: there are yards that you absolutely have to have a shank on, and there are yards that you do not. In state facilities, they're usually referred to as a 1, 2, 3, or 4 yard. 4 yards being the ones that are very, very dangerous. And on a level 4 yard, there are yards that have what they call a no hands policy. And that just sounds lovely when you get there, like no one's hurting one another. What they mean is you will not use one of these. You will use a weapon. And that weapon is usually a lock that someone puts in a sock, or it is a blade. And I have been on level 4 yards. I went to a yard in California that was a federal yard. And I'm not joking you, when I picked up my clothing, they put a shank in there with my clothing and said, don't go to the yard without this. And it was that moment. I don't know if I said hello to Brock. Good to see you, man. Jane Aldrich, welcome. But I have been on those yards, so I don't think he's being dishonest with you. But that said, Diddy is not on a level 4 yard, and the vast majority of people who are in prison systems are not on a level 4 yard. The vast majority of people are going to be on a 1, 2, or 3 yard. 3 yards can be violent, and there are level 1 and 2 yards where people believe that they need to carry a weapon. I've told the story before on my channel, but there was a guy whose last name, we'll call him Beach, because that's really close to what his last name was. But when I was going to the special management unit, you pull up onto the runway in a very long bus. You've seen these buses in traffic. You just didn't know they were transporting people to Con Air, but they are white, orange, and black. And they look like the kind of bus you would take for Greyhound. Like they have dark windows. They're the same length, except in the back, there's a guy sitting in a cage with a shotgun, and everybody in there is shackled and chained to the guy next to them. But when we got there, they started calling off all of the names for people that were going to the SMU. And my friend Beach, who had done 20 some odd years, he was in Phoenix at the time and caught a case in Phoenix and was on the bus for it. And when they called off everybody's name and which bus, or they were either going to a bus or to the plane, he said, you didn't call my name. It was all done in alphabetical order. And B, obviously, is the second letter of the alphabet. So my last name by birth is Miller. So they got through the M's. They got all the way to the end of the alphabet. And Beach raised his shackled paw and said, hey, you didn't call my name. And the guy said, what is your name? And he said, Beach. And he goes, oh, yeah, the U.S. Marshals are here to pick you up. I didn't like this guy, by the way. Diane, thank you so much. 1.5 years. I really appreciate you. And there's my man, Sinstar. If you haven't hit subscribe, please do. Ahmad's going to throw up a link to his channel. He does content that's similar to what I do. We walked very similar paths. He knows what I'm talking about. He's been to the prison as well. But so he said, no, the U.S. Marshals are picking you up. And he goes, why? Because he got caught at Phoenix with a knife. That knife was secreted in his backside. And I don't mean up him, Johnny Sco. I mean, it was just kind of hanging out like a plumber would do with a pencil in Saturday Night Live. He just had it in his butt crack. And when they found it, they decided to hit him with what they call ACC. That is armed career criminal. This was a weapon. He had 2 other weapon charges, and they hit him with armed career criminal. ACC carries a minimum of 15 years, right? And he was about to get out. He was 7 months from the gate and felt the need to have a weapon on a yard that was not hard. Phoenix was a very nice yard. It was a low and a medium, right? Federal correction institution. They had bocce ball. They had 2 tennis courts. Like, it was a really nice place. He didn't need a knife, but he felt the need to carry it, and that got him armed career criminal. As it turns out, he cut a deal for 6 more years. And man, if you're 5 or 6 months to the gate and you get 6 more years on top of just doing 25 or 27 or whatever he had. And no joke, again, this was a guy I didn't like much. We're all shackled. And he goes, oh my God, I can't believe this. He was rocking back and forth. And again, this was prison and I didn't like the guy much. Wes Lightburn, Lovejoy, good to see you both. I said, hey man, it could be a lot worse. And he goes, how, dude? How could that possibly be a lot worse? And I went, well, it could have been me, right? That would have been a lot worse. You can be pretty bold when someone is shackled. But my friend who was sitting next to me, a guy they called Stank, went, well, that's the meanest thing I've ever heard anyone say. But the guy was an idiot. I'm sorry, there you go, I said. But back to the Diddy thing. Diddy has stepped all over the legal system. Do you know anybody else that has stepped all over the legal system? Anyway, Diddy stepped all over the legal system. And by that, I mean, during this trial, even though it didn't get into trial, they found a book when they searched his cell. They determined that the search crossed some lines. And who knows, maybe it did. But it had a hit list in there of people that he wanted to either bribe or threaten because he believed that these individuals might be witnesses. Allegedly, this took place, right? And it was brought up in court. Rune Subramanian actually admonished the prosecution for how they came across this stuff. So it kind of got thrown out. It wasn't used. But there were multiple allegations that Diddy was trying to influence this case by messing with the jury pool or the witness pool, okay? And it has been alleged, and this was alleged by Cassie Ventura in her lawsuit, that when the Shine Barrow incident happened, if you're not familiar with that, right around Christmas last century, right? It was right around, I think it was the 28th, maybe 1999 or 1998. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there was a nightclub shooting. And in that shooting, Sean Combs took off with J-Lo, right? Jennifer Lopez. And Tom Beard, good to see you. And J-Lo and Diddy got pulled over and there was a gun. This stuff is not debatable. Diddy offered a $30,000 ring off of his finger to the driver to take the gun, say it was his. The driver went, yeah, I'll do that. And then as soon as they got out of the car, he's like, it ain't my gun, right? Smart dude. But they ended up with Shine Barrow taking the fall for this, getting a 10-year sentence. And by all accounts, he didn't pull the trigger, right? Diddy did. And if you've never seen the dopest nerd, she has a YouTube channel. She took a shot to the face in that incident and was looking down the barrel of a gun that was being held by Sean Combs. Allegedly, he and his attorney at the time, Johnny Scoville, it was Johnny Cochran. Allegedly, they bought a juror. And this was alleged in a lawsuit by Cassie, and she said that came out of Diddy's mouth. Diddy said, yeah, I bought that jury, right? I paid for that. Whether or not that's true, this keeps flying in the face of the legal system. I'll give you another example. I had a friend that got arrested for a drug charge. He got out on his own recognizance, on an OR bond. You can get out on your own recognizance. They trust you, they let you out. Or they can let you out on a bail situation. Your own recognizance is the court system being as cool as they possibly can to you. If you have what's called an FTA, which is a failure to appear, they're never going to let you out on your own recognizance. This guy didn't have one, so they let him out. He got caught again selling drugs. Now he goes back in front of the same judge who's not happy because they gave him a really big chance. The judge then says, we're going to give you a $25,000 cash only bond. Now this guy was a fairly successful drug dealer. So he put up the entire cash only bond, $25K, and got caught again. If you continue to do the same things that the judge admonishes you on, you're going to be one of those people that goes to court and says, you wouldn't believe how bad the judge just treated me. A judge doesn't have to act like they don't know all of the stupid stuff you've already done. If Diddy ends up back in court, and right now he's being investigated in California, this is not a rumor. LA said, we got a case that we're investigating. It is a case of sexual assault. It's against a man. It is against a producer, which, right, this seems to be a recurring pattern, at least via the accusations. Nothing's been proven yet. He's still innocent until proven guilty. However, these are behaviors that seem to be recurring, right? And he's being investigated right now. On top of that, December the 2nd, the documentary that is being put out by the artist 50 Cent, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson, he has been talking about this now for years, right? This is going to debut on the 2nd of December. You got to tip your hat to Pimpin', because the people at Netflix, right, don't care at all that this is a guy that likes to sue people. This is a huge deal. He has successfully kept people. Hey, what's happening? You know something? With all due respect, I'm going to shred you, and I'm not trying to be a dick. Jonathan is a crackhead. Double jeopardy. You don't have a clue what double jeopardy is. I'm not trying to be a dick, but nobody gets this right, right? Here's what double jeopardy is. If I charge you for murder, O.J. Simpson, he can come out the day he gets found innocent and stand on the court steps and say, I killed her. I killed both of them. Have a nice time. I'm going to play golf. You can never be charged for the exact same crime. Diddy was not charged for what this guy in California has alleged. Diddy was charged for RICO, right? There was a RICO charge that he beat. Any charge that comes up after that has nothing to do with double jeopardy unless they charge him for the exact same crime. And in the United States of America, you can be charged. Let's talk about John Gotti. They can charge you in the state. You can beat it, and the feds can go, well, we're going to pick it up. Is that double jeopardy? It probably should be. But in the United States of America, we have two unique court systems. One is federal, one is state. So Diddy was in the Southern District of New York. There are elements that he was found not guilty of that a state could now pick up and say, we're going to charge him. That man might be a crackhead. One thing's got nothing to do with the other. You can be a crackhead and still have been raped. You can be a drug dealer and still have been shot. And none of those things absolve the person that committed the crime. This guy may be a crackhead. There are a lot of people in the music business that have a drug problem. There are a lot of people in the music business who seem very, very different, right? Tommy Bird says, nope, different courts can charge for the same exact crime. They can, as long as it's going from fed to state. So if California decides to charge Diddy, and then this Diddy case in California, he's found not guilty on, they can't the next day go, we got new evidence, and this new evidence proves this crap. That doesn't matter. O.J. Simpson killed Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman on the 12th day of June, right? Or maybe it was the 11th, and the high-speed chase was the 12th day of June. After he was found not guilty, they could have said, we found the knife. His fingerprints are all over it. It doesn't matter. Once you're found not guilty of a crime, you can't be charged with it again. That is double jeopardy. Having worked in a law library in prison, guys would come up every day and go, this is double jeopardy. I'm being charged again for drug dealing. You're not being charged for the same drug dealing, right? The first crime was you delivered a kilo of cocaine to an undercover cop. You beat that. Then a snitch comes forward and says, he sold me an ounce of dope a week for 6 years, right? It's called ghost dope. They don't have any dope, but you got a guy that says he sold me an ounce a week for 6 years. They go, that's 52 ounces a year times 6. That's 300 and whatever, right? 300 and some change. That's the number of ounces we're going to charge him for. Anything over 500 grams goes fed. Now it's not double jeopardy. You literally have to be charged twice for the same crime and the same exact situation. Diddy allegedly, right? There are 77 people out there that say this guy sexually assaulted me. So one of them might be a crackhead. Maybe they're all crackheads. But 77 people other than Cassie Ventura are currently in a process of suing this dude for some variation of sexual assault. Whether it was done with chemicals, right? He doped somebody up. He gave him gamma hydroxybutyric acid. He gave him rohypnol. He gave him ecstasy. Whatever the case may be, right? Alprazolam. He was allegedly doping people up so that he could have sex with them. There are other people that allege that he just said, if you're going to make it in the music industry, you're going to get on your knees, right? No matter what he got found not guilty of in the Southern District of New York has this to do with what he's charged with in California, and he's not charged, but they're investigating. If they charge in California, they have nothing to do with one another, and it's not double jeopardy. They can't recharge him for RICO, for the same RICO. Let's say over the course of the investigation in the next year, they find out that Diddy does have a crime organization going, but the different elements for it, they're not going to bring in the Kid Cudi explosion. They're not going to bring in the sex trafficking. Let's just say that they go a completely different route. You could be charged with RICO 10 times. You could be charged with RICO civilly. The United States of America has used the RICO statute to go after individuals to just take all of their cash. That's completely legit, right? But people don't understand RICO. People don't understand the criminal system. I was watching a video a couple of days ago that somebody had sent to me where people are talking about a judge who is particularly angry when it comes to just one individual, right? That individual is pissed off the court. Judges don't have to be impartial before a trial. A judge, their job, he or she, is to call balls and strikes only as it applies to the Constitution. So Judge Rune Subramanian hates Diddy. It's really obvious. If you listen to all of the things that he says, he dislikes Diddy, right? But when they show up and say, we got a notebook, and in this notebook, he has a list of people that he either wants to threaten or bribe, the judge still has to call balls and strikes as it applies to the Constitution. He comes back and says to the prosecutors, I don't like the way you got this evidence. Doesn't matter what the evidence is. I don't like the way you got it. It's not coming in, and I'm going to admonish the prosecution for how this happened. That doesn't mean that when Diddy puts in a request for bail, that the judge has to go in and go, I'm going to pretend you haven't been making a hit list for people that you want to either blackmail or buy off. I don't feel safe for this trial if I let you out. You understand? When he went to sentencing, he could say, you got found not guilty on all of the RICO stuff, but personally, I believe you're guilty of it. So I'm going to give you more time than I normally would have. People tend to think that a judge has to come into court every day and go like this. I gave this guy bail, and then he went out and did exactly what I told him not to do on bail. The judge can take that into account. So if you just happen to sit in a courtroom and watch 25 inmates go up in front of a judge, and in every single one they go, welcome, Mr. Scoville. You have been charged with X, Y, and Z. And then Johnny Scoville comes up and the judge goes, yeah, I'm not even hearing anything from you today. They go, this judge is biased. No, Johnny Scoville's a jackwagon who had a series of orders given to him by a judge that he didn't follow. Is everyone tracking this? People don't understand our legal system in the slightest. There is no double jeopardy vis-a-vis the California accusations having anything to do with the RICO. Diddy's in trouble because he lived in Florida, right? Spent a lot of time in Atlanta. He had a house in California. He had a house in New York. That's 4 places that a state could charge him. Forget all the places he visited. Forget all the places that he went and had concerts where he could have had groupies backstage or any of that. Lovejoy, good to see you. Hello, Renee B. Are you tracking? Is this making sense? Because we're going to get this comment 100 times over the course of now until this is over. Double jeopardy. He already beat the case. He beat 1 case. Do you have any idea how many times John Gotti got tried for things? How many times John Gotti went to court? If they keep changing what they're bringing you to court for, they can keep taking you once a week for the rest of your life. It doesn't track the way people think that it does, if that makes sense. Debbie, I'm sorry to hear that. I love super chats. I'm sorry that I missed it. That actually stinks. So yeah, it isn't double jeopardy. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but this is one of those things that is so often misunderstood. It's even misunderstood by inmates. You know, they go, oh no, I was already found not guilty. So for the rest of your life, you can go out and do whatever you want. You got nothing to worry about. You went to court, you were found not guilty. It was a drug thing, so they can never charge you for drugs again. That's not even remotely what double jeopardy means. It literally means they can't charge you for the same crime twice. And there was actually a great movie that was made twice about this. They even remade the film, but it is about a woman who kills an ex-husband and is found not guilty of it, right? Once she's found not guilty of it, she can actually show up and kill the dude, right? It's a fascinating movie. I think the Judd, Ashley Judd, plays the part. Denzel Washington might be in it. I can't remember everybody that's in it, but no, it wasn't Denzel. It was someone else that my girl likes. 127 watching, 39 likes. Roberta doesn't like that. You don't want to anger Roberta. Make that happen. That is surprisingly comforting that justice could be served in different ways, says K Canadian. I want to tell you something. This is why people don't have a problem with inmates who beat up freaks. If the justice system gives someone that decided to have sex with a 4-year-old 6 years and the inmates decide to kill that individual, people tend to go, inmate justice, right? If you go into prison and you steal from somebody's cell, they're going to beat you in a way that they don't care if you steal from somebody on the street. But now you're inside among a bunch of inmates and they're not going to put up with that. There are certain things that are just not allowed. Despite how much people talk about prison rape, it doesn't happen very often in prison. It happens in every prison movie, but it doesn't happen very often in prison. And the reason is the fellas don't much respect people who are booty bandits. They don't much respect. Jane Aldrich says, Tommy Lee Jones and Ashley Judd. Thank you. It was Tommy Lee Jones. Johnny, as jack wagons go, you are my favorite. See that? He is hoping for some sort of loophole to get out. He's hoping to manipulate the United States of America into so much sympathy, this is Diddy, into so much sympathy that the White House decides to pardon this fool. Let me try to do a little critical thinking for people that aren't paying attention. The first time that Donald Trump ran for office, Diddy said, we're friends. Hopefully the guy has a decent run, whatever. The second time around, he said, this isn't about the presidency. This is about good versus evil, meaning he called Donald Trump straight evil. I don't care where you weigh in on this, whether you like Trump or don't like Trump. Does he seem like the kind of guy that is going to be forgiving of that? Because I'll be honest with you, to me, this guy doesn't seem like he's going to be particularly forgiving of somebody that calls him evil. Also, the optics of pardoning or commuting the sentence of somebody that beat up a woman on film and the entire world has seen it, that's not something that most political figures want to do. Now, I realize the guy is not going to, in theory, run for president again because we do have a 2-term limit, but it would destroy the party. The number of people that would go, what the deuce did you let this guy out for? If he had gone in there and done everything right, he's already gotten 2 write-ups, and he hasn't been in prison 3 weeks. Don't think MDC was prison. It's a federal county jail. Fort Dix is a prison. Now he is subject to all of the rules. Diddy was using other people's PAC numbers, right? The phone access codes. He was using other people's phone access codes to make phone calls. We know this. And his attorneys said, who cares? This is not something that they even write people up for in prison. Turns out they do. And I said, when he goes to a real prison, if he does this, the first time he does it, they're going to catch him. They're going to catch him the first time he does it. And they're going to write him up. They have. He has not lost any good time for that yet. My gut on that is because this is an unusual type of, he has traction in this. If he used a PAC number, it's cut and dry. You better just plead guilty. He didn't do that. This was a 3-way call. So if I am in a prison phone and I call my brother and I go, hey, what's going on, Johnny? He says, not much, Tommy. What's up? I go, do me a favor. 3-way in Reese because I want to talk to her. That person needs to be on my approved phone list and they need to know who I'm calling. So if Johnny makes a 3-way call for me, now I'm talking to somebody whose number I didn't dial. Everybody in prison knows that's a problem. Now he's a fish, which is a term used to mean he just got there. I'm shocked that nobody would have pulled him up on game and said, hey man, don't use 3-way calls. Allegedly, he had his attorney do a 3-way call for him. My gut says this. He had his attorney do that for him all the time at MDC Brooklyn. But you're not going to get written up at MDC Brooklyn because you technically are not yet a federal inmate. I know that might not make sense, but he is not yet a federal inmate until he gets into the federal system. Even though that's a federal holding facility, even though they have the same rules, they eat the same food, it's a jail. Prison is where you go once you've been sentenced. Prior to being sentenced, you're in jail. Whether that jail is owned by the feds, whether it's owned by a private company like Corrections Corp of America, or whether it's just a state facility, a county jail is where you go until you get convicted. Diddy has been convicted. Now, all of those rules apply to him. Diddy with that smile looks like a deer in the headlights in those prison videos. In his defense, this is scary for him. Right now, this isn't Victorville. It's not Lewisburg. It's not a joint that's vicious and ugly. But I see the videos that people make, and one of the videos that's getting a lot of traction, they say that there are sex clubs that meet in the shower at Fort Dix, and the guys are taking turns pulling a daisy chain or whatever the hell they're doing in there. And I got news for you. That's BS. I promise you it is, right? The guards are looking the other way while these guys are partying with baby oil in the shower. No friggin' chance. No chance. And I'm not being homophobic or anything else, but I've never met a guard that wasn't homophobic, right? They're not cool with inmates who sleep with one another. And by the way, that is a 100 series shot. Having a sexual relationship in prison, consensual or otherwise, is a 100 series shot. Don't buy into the BS that you hear. Doesn't mean there aren't guys on the DL that are in there screwing around with each other. They ain't doing it in the shower swinging from chandeliers. You feel me? Yeah, that's not how it's going down. But there's a vested interest in putting up a video about Diddy. I used to do it, right? Now, I legitimately was looking for stories. Fortunately, there was a BS story that went on every single day while I was doing it. I could be buying into all of this stuff again. I'm not going to. The nice thing now is this. It's hard to know a lot about Diddy's life. And it's easy to buy into the fact that every single person in Hollywood went to a freak off. Denzel Washington, as good as he is, was in the basement with kids in cages trying to score that chrome stuff out of their blood. Okay, we got out of control with the stories. It was the satanic panic of sorts, right? 2.0, except Diddy was the sort of the ringleader of this incredible set of stories. And there were some big stars in the Diddyverse who claimed to have inside information that you just can't possibly imagine. I spent a lot of time on panels with those people, but some of the stuff they said just so didn't pass any kind of a smell test. But that's over. And now Diddy is in a federal prison. And when he got popped, I was like, 112. That's the write-up. I spent a lot of time in that world. If I lived to be 100, I spent about 13% of my life, right, having to deal with all of those rules. So now when people say stuff like, yeah, they're guys are just having sex parties in the shower. No, they're not. The cops will write those people up instantly to get them out of that prison. They don't want to watch that crap. And they sure as hell are not looking the other direction. I won't lie to you. Cops will look the other direction on making moonshine if they like the guy that's doing it. And the guy tells them ahead of time, I'm going to be making moonshine in cell 17, right? 107. They take 5 gallons of wine. They throw a boiling device in there called a stinger. It goes up into a bag, right? That bag goes into a hose. That hose goes into the sink where you got a bunch of ice. And when it comes out the other side, all of that steam is reconstituted into a liquid that is just moonshine. And there are cops that will look the other direction on that. There are a ton of cops that will look the other direction on things like tattooing or tattoo needles. If you have tattoo needles, which we make out of either a spring or guitar cord or whatever, the high E string, yeah, that's right. If one of those things sticks a cop, there's a decent chance they could get hepatitis, they could get HIV, or whatever that inmate happens to be carrying in their bloodstream. So if you don't want a cop pissed at you, you put those things into an envelope and you write, hey, boss, tattoo needles. Now, obviously, that would be a shot. You'd be in trouble. But they respect the fact that you're not trying to get them hurt, and they probably won't write you up for it. There are things they look the other way for. Gay sex, not on that list. I promise you, not on that list. Tattooing in a cell, when a cop comes on, and I used to do this. I got prison ache. I got plenty of it. A cop would come on and I'd go, hey, boss, I'm going to be getting tattooed in cell 210. Are you cool with that? And there are cops that go, no, I'm not, right? Don't let me catch you with the equipment or anything else. Now, they're not going to go search your cell because they would like to go home at the end of the day. And if you went to them respectfully, they're not going to search you because you put yourself on blast, if that makes sense. But a lot of cops will go, you can go tattoo in that cell. Put someone out there on watch, or they call the term shooting jiggers. Not exactly sure how that came about, but that's somebody out there whose job it is to look for a lieutenant the boss of the cop that's letting you tattoo. And if you make sure that that cop doesn't get caught, then he will turn and look the other way for things like tattooing, the occasional drinking, a cigarette you smoked in your cell that the guy might smell. Those are things that a cop will look the other way on. 100 series shots are usually not that way. And the reason for that isn't just that they're homophobic. The reason for that is when two guys begin to get emotional about one another, then if anybody else gets in the middle of that, they will kill someone over their boyfriend or girlfriend. The reason that they don't just allow, people say all the time, why don't they just hand out condoms? If the guys are going to be in there doing it, this would keep them from getting AIDS, because they'll kill each other. A new person will come in and they'll go, ooh, I like that one. And the next thing you know, people are stabbing each other. I've talked about this on the show before. The last prison yard that I went to was in Oregon. It's called Sheridan. And it was the first time I popped up on a yard that had people living as the opposite gender there, right? And they cause fistfights. There are guys who absolutely look at that person and go, that's a woman, right? Wendy Simon says, Tommy, why would Diddy's lawyers make three-way calls for Diddy and also bring him the single dollars? The single dollars thing is BS. And I'll tell you why. Let's say that the drug on that yard is pick one, right? He has a problem with opioids, right? So we could say it's either heroin or it's Suboxone. A Suboxone strip on a yard that's cheap is $100, and money inside prison is worthless. You can't spend it on anything, and you have to smuggle it out. You're going to put those single dollar bills up your backside. If he was bringing money in to party on, he would say, bring me $100 bills. He didn't understand the visiting room. He wanted to be a pimp in the visiting room and eat as much food and drink as much soda and do whatever he wanted to do. Because at visiting, you come in and sit down and your people go up to machines. There are microwaves. You got microwave hamburgers. You have microwave chicken. You have all of these different things that you can microwave. And you have the ability to use money. And it's the only place you can.
Did you ever see actual money?
No. Oh yeah, you want to hear something funny?
Yeah.
I was in Phoenix, and my cellmate got a Christmas card, and his grandmother put a $5 bill in it. Not exactly sure how, but it made it through the mailroom. And he opened it and went, "Holy crap!" And it's weird because you've been in prison 10 years. You're like, "Let me see that." You're holding it up. You can instantly smell it. Like money has a scent. But we spend stamps, right? It's a fiat currency. It's a representation of money. But you spend stamps. You can buy something on a yard, drugs, alcohol, food, shoes. You can buy them with stamps. That $5 bill was worthless. The guy literally handed it to the cop and said, "Can you put this in my property?" It was in a card that made it through because it's worthless. So Diddy didn't realize that his people had to bring coins. The machines don't take dollars. And you can't bring more than $25. But that was just him pimping. Right? That was just him. I promise you that wasn't for drugs or anything else that they suggest it was for. It was just his ignorance that he didn't realize that the vending machines in the visiting room, which are cash cows, they sell out in 20 minutes. People go in there and blow the whole $25. But he thought, I'm a big dog. Bring me up $200 and it needs to be in ones. The only reason you would want that in $1 bills is because you were putting it in the vending machine. There's no other reason. If you're buying drugs, you need 50s, 100s, right? That's the kind of stuff. Because a Suboxone strip, which would be the cheapest thing you could get on a yard where they're giving them away, they're $100 a piece. And you couldn't go up to a guy who's selling that stuff and go, "Can I get a 16 cut? Here's some dollar bills." What the hell am I going to do with those? Shove them up my backside when I leave here? I'm good. What they want to do is do street to street. However, the reason that they did that three-way phone call is because every inmate in the world does this. Every inmate in the world, when they're in jail, gets their lawyer to call family members or call whatever so that they can have conversations. And the lawyers get accustomed to doing it. Diddy's not going to get in trouble at MDC Brooklyn. They might say to him, "Stop doing three-way calls." But they don't have any teeth. They can't take stuff away in the same way that they can at Fort Dix. Then he gets there and says to his lawyer, "Hey, do me a favor and three-way this person in." And you have a feeling that they do, right? This is just something that is done. Emailed you under Debbie Going Strong. I just hope to get your real estate. I will absolutely get that back to you. I do not normally check emails. I will do that and send you the contact information for my for my real estate agent down here. He's a great guy, by the way. Has a beautiful dog, and he's just a very caring and he's just a great guy. And thorough. My girl would back me up on this. He's a great real estate agent and thorough. So on December the 2nd, Curtis 50 Cent Jackson's episode 1 is going to drop. This is going to shine a new light on the Diddy case in a way that we haven't seen it before. Filmmakers have made documentaries. This is the world that 50 Cent lives in, right? His girl allegedly was a sex worker for Sean Combs and was at freak-offs and understands all of this. This is going to be odd, and it is a 4-part series, Johnny Scoble. 4 parts. Yeah, that is a 4-hour documentary from, once again, a guy that lives in that industry. Quattro ora. Right? This is going to be a lot of dirt on Diddy. This is going to be uncomfortable. Little off topic, but wondering if you have looked into or going to cover the whole David and Celeste Rivas. You know what? I wasn't planning on it, but if people want me to, I can. Appreciate Tommy, Johnny, and Reese's honesty and all they've given themselves to their communities. Debbie, that's a kind thing to say. And thank you for the super chat. It makes a huge difference. And to whoever asked the other night, I was walking today. I had to go to run some errands and pick up, order some pizza. I didn't pick it up. I had it delivered. But I was walking the neighborhood and saw a guy taking a leak. He was leaning up against the wall in a solar in a lot that's for sale. And I thought about, I'm like, I could take a picture of this guy. It seemed a little disrespectful. So I did. You do have a video of a guy. It does happen. It's not like you see it every 7 minutes, but you see it more than you would see it in the U.S. There's a live and let live attitude that's a little bit different here than it is in other places. Tell me what you think, people. I'll be honest with you. I'm blown away that Netflix is running with this. I really am. They have to have a lot of faith in 50 Cent, or he has worked out some kind of an arrangement. Because if you put something like this together and you are the artist, you are the director, you are the producer or whatever, that lawsuit doesn't necessarily land on you, even though you're the one that put it up. They do what's called et al., right? So I'm going to sue Curtis 50 Cent Jackson for making a video about me that I think is BS. But I'm going to sue him at Netflix et al. Everybody, right? I'm suing everybody. In the prison system, if you have a lawsuit that is an 8th Amendment violation, that would be cruel and unusual punishment. You're going to sue the guard. You're going to sue the night watch commander. You're going to sue the captain of the yard, the head of SIS, the warden, the associate warden, and who's ever running the Department of Justice at the time, because it is et al. You're suing everybody. So maybe 50 Cent said, look, if this cat sues, I got lawyers too. But it's odd that especially the timing seems peculiar. Just a couple of days ago, Diddy announced a huge lawsuit that he's taking out against NBC, right? And at that same time, this is when Netflix goes, yeah, screw it. December 2nd, we're gonna drop ours. That's gutsy. That's gutsy. It also would lead me to believe that they've done an awful lot of research. What? You can't do that, Tommy. That's double jeopardy. You're going to hear that a lot. You're going to hear that a lot. This is double jeopardy and RICO are two things that very few people understand. I don't think Diddy beat the charges in the traditional sense that someone beats the charges. I think that it was charged poorly. Trying to explain the RICO statute to people that don't understand it is difficult. And the way that they explain it every time is to go, picture a gang, whether that gang is the mafia or that gang is a street gang or a prison gang. We can charge the guy that did the murder and everybody above him all the way up, and we can charge 150 people for one death. Well, that makes sense, right? Now you get a guy whose business is absolutely designed so that he can continue to rape people, allegedly. This is what was charged. Explaining that to people who want to see the head of a crime family charged, it's a difficult thing to make a jury understand. And no matter how good the judge is, the jury instructions are going to be confusing because we don't believe that there can be a RICO case with one person. There can. If that fool has a recurring, crime syndicate designed to get him something, even if the people that are executing the renting of the room, the cleaning up of the room, they don't have to charge those people to still have a RICO. All they have to show is that this guy's business exists for the purpose of crime, right? And it doesn't have to be profit crime. If you run a school and you're running a school because you would like to do bad things to kids, you could be RICO'd. Anybody that knows about it and is covering it up can be RICO'd, but it's confusing. If you say to the average person, you can go after somebody civilly outside a criminal court and use RICO. RICO was designed to jack up people that you can't get normally, right? You can't get them in a state case to do what you want. So RICO was put in so that you can destroy an entire organization. And prison gangs are notorious for this kind of stuff. Somebody kills someone on a prison yard and they charge 180 guys with it, right? Guys who aren't even on that prison yard, guys who are in other facilities because the gang killed this person to further the gang. Now you can charge everybody, the big homies, all the people all the way up the line, guys that joined the gang 6 months ago, guys that joined the gang 2 days ago. That makes sense to people. Trying to do it to somebody that owns a music label makes it a little bit, you say some unusual things. Hear it all before with question marks. Can you help me with this? I'm not being disrespectful. What does that mean? Hear it all before. Anyone? Bueller, are you suggesting that you've heard all of this before? That very well could be the case. If you're listening to somebody that explains this system in a way that makes sense, this is probably what they're going to say. Not trying to toot my own horn. I'm just a loser that spent an awful lot of time in federal court, right? I spent an awful lot of time in federal prison, not for things that I'm particularly proud of, but this is something that I know a little something about. Todd, good to see you, my man. I'm glad that you're here. It's a way to get to the shot caller that never gets his hands dirty, correct? Yes. It was also a way so that if no smoking gun. So in order for there to be a smoking gun, do we have to catch him with his penis in someone? Or someone coming forward and saying, this man sexually assaulted me? Because if we need a witness to a rape, then now we're working Sharia law. And we have to have 2 or 3 people that watch a rape go on in order for there to be a rape. Rape by its nature is done usually behind closed doors with 2 individuals. If we believe people who say this happened to me, right? I'm going to go out on a limb and say, Miba, that there was probably a time where you didn't believe Cassie Ventura when she said I was beat up by Sean Combs. When he came out and said, I never put hands on that woman. I don't hit women. The next day, after that video broke, he went, man, I was at a low point. I was on drugs. That was the worst part of my life. That was a smoking gun to the fact that this guy abused women. Was it not? Okay. We may absolutely see a smoking gun when it comes to other things. He had guns in his house with obliterated serial numbers. That's real. There's no getting around that. That is real, right? So there are things that absolutely point to the fact that this man is a criminal. He blew up Kid Cudi's car. That's not a smoking gun, right? He held a woman off of a balcony. That to me seems like a smoking gun. And he sure as hell had a smoking gun for the people he flew in to have sex for cash. That's called pandering, right? When you pay somebody for sex, it's called pandering. If you do it across state lines, it's called the Mann Act. It's not prostitution. Prostitution, you meet a girl on the street or a guy on the street and you go, hey, you want to have sex? Here's $100. They go into a room. If you put that person on a plane or a car or a bus or a train and bring them across the state line, it becomes a federal offense. He did that, which is why he was found guilty of it. Now, there are 2 producers who claim that they were sexually assaulted by this guy. One of them has a lot of video and a lot of still cameras, as well as audio of things that went on. There's a smoking gun in the Omarkey case, right? Because there is audio and video of what his kid did to the Omarkey woman on that yacht. There are smoking guns all over the place. I'm sorry, there are. If this guy isn't running a criminal operation, why does he have AR-15s with obliterated serial numbers?
It's a damn question.
Right? It is. It's a damn good question, right? There are all kinds of things that are going to come out. This video by 50 Cent is going to be interesting. And the proof of it is, I believe we knew, or at least Diddy did, somebody leaked to that cat that this was going to happen. I think the lawsuit against NBC was more symbolic to try to scare Netflix because he's been waiting for this thing to drop for a long time, right? 50 Cent, like him or hate him, has put a lot of time into this. What about a bicycle? A lot of stank in that room, literally. So as far as the bicycles go, I don't know if that's a reference to prison. I know that in the federal system, Leavenworth has bikes on the facility. Anytime you get a prison that used to be a facility for our military, they're bigger than the average prison, right? They tend to be very large yards. And sometimes going from one building to another that used to be barracks, right? So these were converted to make prisons. It's called Fort Dix for a reason. So there very well may be bikes on that yard that inmates use to go from one place to another. They certainly do that at Leavenworth. I don't know Fort Dix very well. It was on the East Coast. The only place I did time on the East Coast for any length of time was in Pennsylvania. And that was a yard that may have had bikes at one time. But when I was there, it was a special management unit. It was a 23-in-1. So we spent 23 hours a day locked up in a cell. So I wouldn't have known. But it is a fort, right? As in Fort Dix. It used to be a military installation. So there very well could be bikes on that yard. That happens. So if that was the reference. Oh, the Transporting of Humans for Sexual Congress and the Mann Act. Yeah. Oh, and a bicycle. I got you. If you transport them across state lines on a bike, it's an interesting question. Certainly a motorcycle. If they're riding that bike themselves, I think you would probably have to talk to a federal prosecuting about this. Cinnamon Girl says Fort Dix spells it correctly. You say. Well, if you listen to some of the videos that are out there, this is just a gay porn site. Right, these guys are making gay porn films in there. Absolutely ridiculous. I'm sorry, it's absolutely ridiculous. And it's getting people paid, right? They're getting views on it. But I assure you, guards aren't looking the other way while men are having, down low sessions in the shower with baby oil and whatnot.
Plenty of whatnot.
Yeah, plenty of whatnot. Baby oil on higher criminal levels have been removed because you can put baby oil in a microwave and throw it on people. And in level 3 and 4 yards, that has happened so many times, they just do not allow microwaves anymore, right? So if you're going to cook a soup, you have a tap on the wall that comes out at 185 degrees. It's next to the sink. It's like any other tap, but you go up and just pull it like you would on a coffee maker, and steaming hot water comes out of it. It's not that you can't throw that on somebody. They do. Happens all the time. The difference is when you throw baby oil on someone, it sticks to them like napalm. And when they go to try to wash it off, their skin just sloughs away. I've seen it 100 times. It's absolutely terrible. It really is. It's disgusting. But it is one of those things. If you can think of a way to hurt somebody in prison, it's been done, right? They went to fluorescent lights in all prisons. One of the reasons they did is it used to be really popular to hollow out the light bulb but leave the filament. So you break the glass on the bottom and leave it all in there except the filament, and then put any kind of flammable liquid in it. Now a person goes in, turns their light on, it explodes, and all of that flaming liquid drops. Any way you can think of to hurt someone has been done in prison. Those modern light bulbs that they say, whatever you do, if you break one of these, don't sniff any of that powder. Guys have broken those, put that powder, told people it was drugs to get them to snort it. Any way you can hurt a man in prison, another man has already done it. It's a vile and a terrible place to be.
And they don't give bad nicknames.
And they don't give bad nicknames. Yeah, they're very kind as far as that goes. I'll do a show someday on prison nicknames, but let's just put it this way. If you go in and you're missing an arm,
Lefty.
you're going to be called lefty. It doesn't matter whether you're missing a right or a left arm. Why, thank you. I appreciate that, Debbie. You know what? I understand why people, a lot of times, there's only a couple of ways you can do research. And if you're going to do research into a federal prison, then you're only going to get what's been written by other people, right? Because the Federal Bureau of Prisons, they will list out the levels of offenses, right? Killing someone, what is that? You can look up and see the handbook on what every offense level is. And it will tell you how much time they can take away. So for alcohol, it'll say they can take 60 days. So you got people reporting, if Diddy had been caught for alcohol, it would have been 60 days. He would have lost 2 months off his sentence. They can do that. That is usually reserved for somebody that gets caught with 5 or 10, right, gallons of wine, or they're making moonshine and selling it. They have an operation that is for profit, or they made alcohol that hurt somebody, right? They made hand sanitizer booze.
So making alcohol for personal consumption is different than selling it?
The first time you get caught making alcohol, whether it's for personal consumption or to sell it, you're probably going to lose 27 days of good time. The first time you get caught with drugs, whether it's for personal consumption or to sell it, you're probably going to lose 27 days of good time. If they come in and you got a half a kilo, right, you're going to lose 2 months. They're going to take the maximum amount of time because obviously this isn't a run-of-the-mill offense. You're a dirtbag. Tommy, do you think Diddy will get a lot more time added while in there? I think he'll lose all of his good time. If you want to know the truth, I think he will lose all of his good time. And the reason that I say that is, what's that? As well he should. And the reason that I say that is this. Just like the idiot that gets out on bond and does exactly what they tell him not to do on bond, Diddy knows the rules there. He's not an inmate. He's Sean Combs. Most inmates who go in there are going to be 35167-048. It's just a number to every other cop. They might know your last name, they might not. This is Sean Combs. I don't care what prison they put him on. I don't care if he's in Con Air. I don't care if he's at a transfer center. He's Diddy. Every single cop is going to look at him. You don't know what good time is. Okay, good time credits, GTC. You get good time credits in prison. So if Diddy goes to prison on the time that he gets, his out date has taken into account 15% of his sentence being removed because he did everything right. So when you see his out date, that's based on that fool doing everything right. So when he got caught drinking or making it or whatever he got caught for, because all we know is there was an alcohol shot. So he got caught with alcohol. Maybe he was making it, doubtful, because he had just gotten there. Maybe he just got caught with it, or he got caught shafazed, right? They have breathalyzers. They will come in and go blow into this. And if you're anything over 0, it's not the street. They don't go, well, he blew an 07, so we're not going to. If you have alcohol in your system, you're going to get a shot. And you're going to lose the first time around 27 days, which he did. It is absolutely like credit. So he has already lost 27 days, and he has a shot pending for that 3-way call thing. He's going to try to blame it on his lawyers. Like, well, the lawyer said it was cool. People are reporting this because you're trying to get clicks, and I get it. But people are reporting that we don't know whether or not he got in trouble for the alcohol because due process has to happen. If your good time credits changed, if your out date moved by 27 days, that doesn't happen until you're found guilty. It's a court of sorts, except there's no jury. There's one guy or a gal, and you sit in front of a Skype device, right? There's a camera and a big TV screen. That person is called a DHO, a disciplinary hearing officer. You go in front of the DHO and you go, boss, that stuff wasn't booze. I was making wassail for Christmas. By the way, I got away with that once. If Diddy was smart, like if they catch you trying to make booze and you've added sugar and you got it all put together, they can get you for the ingredients, but they have to test the alcohol. They have to test your bag and tell you what the alcohol content is. Now, an alcohol content of 1% alcohol, you're still going to get a write-up. But like the last prison I was at was soft. And right at Christmas time, they found a bag of wine because I was on the first floor and I was burping it. And I look up and there was a cop that was coming into work standing in my window. Kind of a bummer. Yeah. So I got in trouble for it, but I watched the cops go outside and dump it down the drain. I knew they didn't test it. So when I went in and the DHO said, how do you plead? I said, not guilty. And he goes, well, they said they took the stuff. I go, what was the alcohol content? And he goes, hold on, let me find out. And the cop came in and he's like, we poured it out. He goes, well, then it ain't alcohol, right? He could have been making wassail. No joke. It was Christmas time. Do I think he's getting it?
Wassail.
I do make a decent wassail. And I sing about it well. I don't know if you've heard me do my wassail tune, but I got game. Do I think he's getting it in the backside while he's in there? If he is, he's getting it because he wants it. I would doubt it. And the reason I say that is, once again, he's Sean Diddy Combs. So no matter what they told you about Epstein, if you're in a unit, you're on camera. If you're in a unit, you're on camera. And there is a guy or a gal or several of them sitting in the security office, and there's cameras all over God's creation. And they can click on things and go through it. When Diddy walks into a day room, they're looking at Diddy. Yeah, he is just that guy. And he's going to be that guy the entire time that he's in there, man. This is just how it's going to go down. So I don't think he's going to get away with anything in there. And if he was, like, he could have gone in there and laid it down. He could have gone in there and said, I'm not going to fart while I'm in here. But he went in and in week 1 bought some booze. And in week 2 did a 3-way call. You've already demonstrated that you're not going to follow the rules. You already demonstrated that line of shite you gave the judge about, this is the first time I've not had anything in my system in 25 years. Yeah, BS, right? So now the guy's a liar. Now the guy's already trying to break 100 series shots.
Priors.
Yeah, priors. He's got priors. You're also going to hear on major places that this is just they take this just as seriously as a murder. What they mean by that is they're both 100 series shots. So the booze used to be a 112. It's been moved to like a 126. The higher the number goes, the less trouble you're in. Killing someone is a 100. 100. Nothing in the BOP is worse than that. You're not just going to get in trouble. They're not going to take you to the hole. If the crime you commit is a crime on the street, they're going to charge you for it. So if you kill someone, you're going back to court for killing someone. Getting caught with booze is nothing like killing someone. They both happen to be 100 series shots. Rape is a 100 series shot, right? So if you sexually assault, what's wassail? Yeah. It is a drink made at Christmas time.
What's the penalty for making wassail?
120. Oh no, that one actually worked out. So a 400 series is if you get caught with cardboard in your cell, that's considered contraband. I had cardboard that was covered in a green military blanket. I may or may not have been using it as a poker table. And the cop came in and went, "Give me that. I told you not to play cards in here, blah, blah, blah." So I gave him the cardboard covered with green felt kind of a situation. He walked out with it. And the guys went, "Ah, damn," I go, went right under the bed and pulled out another one. 2 seconds later, the cop was at my door. And I actually got written up for having cardboard in my cell. I mean, they can't take any good time. When you get into 400 series shots, you're not losing GTC, good time credits. On a 100 series, on a 200 series, you're going to lose good time. They changed since I got out of prison. A phone shot is now a 200 series shot, right? And they're called shots. That's not a nickname inmates give it. Inmates call them write-ups. The Bureau of Prison calls them shots. A 100 series, a 200 series, a 300 series, or a 400 series shot. Not sure why that is, but that's what they're called. Who's that guy in the peanut gallery interrupting? That would be the Johnny Scoville. The Johnny Scoville. Marissa Martin, good to see you. No, actually, I kind of dig it. It's like, for all you know, I'm just talking to nobody. I've got priors. That is the famous Big Brother. He's kind of more famous than I am, to be really honest with you. Got one of those silver play buttons. I'm not sure if you knew that. In fact, it's right over there. So it's hanging out right over there. So this series is going to drop. 50 Cent series is going to drop on December the 2nd. To be honest, having it in 4 different sessions, I don't see this thing doing as well as everybody thinks it's going to in terms of views. But nevertheless, this is frightening Sean Combs. This is scaring Diddy. And the reason probably is this isn't a director making a film debut, although it is. This is a guy who knows where the bodies are buried. These cats have hung out in the same room. I don't know if you've heard Diddy talk about it before. I'm sorry. If you've heard 50 talk about it before. See what I did there? Called him 50. They call him that a lot. 50 Cent said in an interview, the guy tried to take me shopping. Right? He wanted to take me shopping. He's like, "No, come on out. I'll buy you some clothes. We'll go shopping. Let me buy you some stuff." Hey, Teal Star Susan, did Johnny enjoy his pizza? Actually, the cat ate most of it. But if you ever find yourself in Salinas, Ecuador, and you happen to get here on the right day, Mario's will give you a 2-for-1 on pizza. Great pizza in Ecuador. I'm serious. Great pizza. They make a garlic sauce that is just to die for. And garlic sauce poured over pizza is a thing everywhere. Have you ever bought pizza that didn't have it?
No,
everywhere. They have this garlic sauce that they pour over stuff, which is just damn civilized, if you ask me. It really is. But yeah, he enjoyed his pizza. The pizza from Mario's is kind of the best going. I will be covering Diddy every time somebody lies or is mistaken about this case. I'm not doing Diddy content for the sake of doing Diddy content. I dislike the guy. During the last go-around, before he ended up going to trial, I found myself hating him at a level that obscured my ability to critical think, right? And it had to get to the ridiculous. And I know I'm going to get hate mail for this. The good news is I'm not going to see it, but I'm going to get hate mail for this. There weren't kids underneath the guy's house. There wasn't a Starbucks in the tunnels that were smuggling kids into Diddy's house. It got ridiculous, right? It got ridiculous. Nobody in Hollywood wasn't on the hit list for going to the guy's parties. Let me say this one last time for the critical thinkers out there. If a guy like Diddy has a 50th birthday party, the people who are his handlers, his agents, his managers, his press people are going to call everyone famous in the United States of America and say, we'll pick up a ticket. We just want you to fly in, sign the guest book. They have a thing behind them that says Chirac on it. And everybody kind of files through and gets their picture taken, right? Including 2 or 3 presidents. Doesn't mean they were banging kids at his house at 4 a.m., right? Ellen DeGeneres being in those pictures doesn't mean she's banging kids at Diddy's house. The fact that people go on talk shows and say things that, you know, are questionable. I think Ellen DeGeneres is a bad person, but you can't just immediately go, yeah, she was buying children at Diddy's place. We try to turn Diddy into Epstein. Diddy's bad enough without trying to turn him into Epstein. You know what I'm saying? I saw Diddy dancing at a TV special to the background music of Led Zeppelin's song Kashmir. He was wearing red, using different words. He looked strange and it seemed not normal. Here's the thing. There are clips out there of Diddy that are absolutely satanic looking. And there was a time I would have said the guy's a Satanist. He's got a tattoo on his back that is unusual. He's done a lot of things that are unusual. If he's not satanic, he certainly isn't living a life that isn't, right? By all accounts, this guy has victimized a lot of people. Now, Busby did a press interview and we all bought into it, right? There were 3,300 phone calls. Well, out of that, about 77 cases seem to be moving forward. But that's enough, right? No smoking gun. Got to catch him in the act. Apparently, you got to have 10 toes up, 10 toes down, right? You got to have a glass that you can test for GHB in it. Having all of these people that kind of tell the exact same story isn't good enough. But those same people went, Cassie's lying. And then the video dropped on CNN and they had to go, yeah, I mean, she wasn't lying, but we don't know what came up before that. And it's just one clip of film. You don't see the, I'm sorry, what was she kicking his ass before that happened? Like Cassie was stomping him out in the previous video that they deleted. The people that scream about smoking guns say, well, who leaked that? I personally don't give a shit. I really don't. And I don't care why they leaked it. If you got a video of somebody doing this, they're a shooter. I don't care why it got leaked or who leaked it. How's that relevant? I'm sorry. To me, it isn't. He lied about beating up a chick. And then we saw him beating her up on film. And he's done it so often that he could kick her butt, kick her, punch her, throw stuff at her, and never lose his towel. That's the guy that's beat a few women in his life. And by all accounts, the woman who was the father of most of his children had to get her nose fixed, had to have doctors flown in. This kind of crap happened a lot. We have pictures of Cassie with black eyes that didn't come from that hotel, right? We have people who have said, I sat in rooms with her until she healed so that she couldn't go out and be photographed. Do you realize if you keep someone in a room to heal, that's called kidnapping? You know, by a federal standard, if you move somebody 2 feet against their will, it's kidnapping. If you shut the blinds, if you unplug the phone, if you take their cell phone away from them, all those things are kidnapping. So maybe there's no smoking gun yet. But I have a feeling that we're going to see a lot more on this douchebag before it's all said and done. That's just my humble opinion. Diddy is showing who he really is. Bad people do bad things. Therefore, Diddy's just a bad person. Yeah. And you do dumb stuff, you win dumb prizes. Right? People are going, it's just not fair that that they gave him this much time. It isn't. Here's the deal. You don't like the time he got? Call your congressman and tell him you think the Mann Act should be done away with. But because you got $100 million or $300 million, I broke the law. I went to prison for it. Never bitched about a prison sentence. I broke the law, right? I knew what was going on before I did it. I did. I knew if I got caught doing what I was doing, I knew how much time it brought. It's just kind of how it goes, man. And you get to a point in your life where you're like, you know what? I'm not going to jaywalk because 8 hours in jail is more than I'm ready to commit for anything. There's not enough money left in the world for me to risk going back to prison. If it's $1 billion, it's not worth the risk of getting locked up again because the last time around opened my eyes in a way that no other time did. But this is an evil guy. And if you're the person that said this is double jeopardy and there's no smoking gun, keep coming back. Keep coming back. We'll have a lot to talk about. Do you also assume that he did not get caught with alcohol? Because the Diddy supporters and the sycophants still believe this guy didn't get caught with alcohol. Due process hasn't happened yet. He's already got a sentence. Think about the federal system just like you do the street. He's been sentenced for the alcohol. That sentence moved his date 27 days. By the way, I told you it was going to be 27 days before it moved. I'm not Nostradamus. I screwed up a lot, right? That was a shot. I got a lot of shots for alcohol and drugs. In fact, with the exception of punching a cop, all of my shots were for alcohol or drugs. Tommy, if the U.S. economy crashes, as many predict, will it also impact Ecuador as they use the U.S. dollar? They use it in a fiat sense like very few others. I don't think they care whether the dollar's going up or down. They just need a representation of money. And nothing backs up the U.S. dollar anyway. They will move to a different form of currency, or maybe they won't. Maybe they'll just keep spending what's here. It's an interesting subject, and it's one that I think about often. I'll tell you the truth. None of my money is in a bank. I did away with all of that. At this point, my money is in commodities, because if the economy goes to hell in a handbasket, whatever Ecuador decides to choose for their new currency, I will take those commodities, sell them off in that new fiat currency every time I need groceries, if that makes sense. There you have it. Sorry, I've been having a deep talk with my guy, but Tommy just wanted to say I started watching Casablanca. You know what? That's almost worth ending on right there. Deep talks with anybody are an excuse to not see this show. I promise you. That is an absolutely legitimate reason to not watch me. If you're having connection with anybody in a real way, miss me. I'll be here when you get done. But it's almost worth skipping connection for a real good shot at Casablanca. One of the best movies ever made. I think the authorities will keep looking for more stuff to get him on, like what happened to OJ. I think that that's interesting. I really do. I think that that's interesting. We're going to see a lot of people taking shots at Sean Combs. For those people that want me to comment on something else that's going on that I'm not going to comment on, play stupid games, get stupid prizes. If a judge says stop this and you don't stop it, when the judge treats you like a jackwagon, you can't complain that they're biased or they're paid off. You're just an asshole. And there's no getting around the fact that there are people who are just assholes. It showed him on the news today, and he is gray-headed with a gray goatee. He absolutely is. And if you think he looks gray now, wait until he gets out. This has an effect of turning cats gray. He does look a little like the Shisha, except that guy had way better eyes. He really had eyes like an Alaskan husky, didn't he? All right, people, we're going to wrap this thing up. I've got a girl I need to talk to. Between now and the next time I see you, do me a favor. Don't buy the BS, man. For real. There's no double jeopardy. You're going to see a smoking gun. But if you really need 3 witnesses to a rape, check yourself, man. Check yourself. These are the same people that'll scream, we need to believe victims. Unless, of course, they happen to be people accusing my favorite entertainer or whatever. It's easy to get clouded by things like I'm a fan. Don't let that happen. That's dangerous and it's ugly. All right. I will see you on the next one. Whine a little bit more. Good to see you. I think you'll like the replay. It wasn't a bad show. Kind of proud of it. What do you think? All right, people. I'm Tommy. I'll see you on the next one. God bless.